Today, I want to talk about addiction adores absolute adherence. I first want to address addiction. Addiction can take any form, and it can take multiple forms. And it depends on the individual, it depends on all kinds of things. But addiction, although the very obvious ones, addictions to drugs or alcohol, shopping, eating, feeling good, there are so many things, so many manifestations of addiction. Moving forward, I would like to, when we talk about addiction, we're thinking about whatever numbing behavior. So addiction is numbing, addiction is distraction, and whatever the cause of that need to numb is the same, whether you're addicted to drugs or addicted to likes on the internet. There is something deeply rooted that you are seeking alleviation from, the pain of whatever that is. And addiction is also really, really tricky because it adores absolute adherence. And so it has like built-in mechanisms to keep you in that cycle of addiction, because the longer you're in it, the worse you're feeling about yourself. You get into these patterns of thinking and doing things that just continue to exacerbate the problem. Because that's what addiction does. It keeps you feeling low, so you keep wanting to numb yourself. And to get yourself out of that cycle is tremendously difficult. The problem with addiction is that most people who are in that cycle of addiction don't feel like they deserve to feel good. They feel like they are such a piece of shit that it is hard for them to imagine a world where they don't hate themselves. And that's hard because nobody else can fix that part. Feeling like they deserve to feel like shit. Nobody can fix that but them. Nobody could fix that but me. And although there are so many programs aimed at, helping people with addiction and whatnot, most of the times when we talk about addiction recovery, I don't know what the stats are, but most of it is probably court imposed or other person imposed, or it is initiated by someone other than the individual, I would say in a lot of cases. And so those, although can be very great and can be transformative as well, the only true recovery that anybody will ever experience is when it is cultivated by them. And so how do we teach someone that is stuck in their addiction that they deserve better, that they deserve to not feel like shit all the time? That's the real crux of addiction recovery, because they have to want it. It can't be forced on them. It can't be ultimatumed on them. It can't be scared out of them. It has to be self-cultivated. A desire to believe that you don't have to feel like shit. You deserve to feel good. You deserve to forgive yourself. You deserve to heal yourself. It's really hard to go from feeling like a piece of shit and just like your life is pointless to having such a great love for yourself that you can do anything. That is a huge leap. And a lot of people never try that leap. And a lot of people try that leap and they fail. And we all fail. And I want to cultivate in people the desire and knowledge that they deserve to be loved. that they deserve to love themselves, that they are the only person that can release themselves from this prison of addiction that they are in. And they can do that. They can choose to do that. A lot of times people say, I've got an addictive personality. And, is that truly how they are? Which in a lot of us it is, yes. But is that also us allowing to reflect responsibility, which ruins rehabilitation? But in saying that, in having that narrative about ourselves, that we have an addictive personality, is that giving us an excuse to just engage in this behavior willy-nilly? Because, that's just who I am. Ultimately it comes down to what you decide. You decide who you are. You decide who you want to be. Addiction adores absolute adherence. Some of us, sometimes it's super easy to spot our addiction. It is problematic. It is very obvious. It is a struggle that we know about and continue with. But there are other more subtle forms of addiction that I think that people don't pay enough attention to. And they are all equally troubling. Addiction adores absolute adherence. Perhaps there are things in your life that you are inflexible on. Some of those might be really great things. But if you have to absolutely adhere to something, otherwise you feel just discombobulated. If you absolutely have to adhere to checking your social media constantly, or having the house cleaned up spick and span, or whatever, that absolute adherence, whatever behavior that you exhibit that just dominates, almost like you have no control over needing to do it. Shopping, whatever it may be. Having this alliteration, addiction adores absolute adherence, will help keep you mindful of perhaps addictions in your own life, perhaps keeping you more mindful of things that you might not see as addiction, but are able to identify by being more mindful about that. And I also want you to know that it's like a loop. It's like a feedback loop of addiction that makes you adhere to it. And it doesn't have to be that way. That is the mechanism by which it works. Addiction adores absolute adherence, but you can change the rules. You can do that. And if you're constantly mindful of the addiction, the behavior, then you're able to change and grow. And that is my desire for you, that you may heal and grow. Please prioritize self-care and mindfulness. All my love, AbFabNerd.